Sam, thanks. I really appreciate you taking the time to come in today.
Thanks, Leanne.
So tell me, why should we actually get a strata report when we're buying an apartment?
Well, the main thing I think is important for an owner looking to purchase into a strata apartment. When they do a strata inspection report, what it contains is important information like, is there major defects at the building? Or is the building getting painted? Do we have any funds in the account? Or am I looking to raise a special levy? Am I going to contribute $20,000, $30,000, $40,000? That's quite important because an owner may think that I can afford to buy the apartment, but do I have an extra $50,000 within a 12-month period that I have to fork out into that apartment? Another one to look for is bylaws. There's specific bylaws for a strata apartment. There's a normal standard 19 bylaws which contains pet. Can I bring my dog Spot? Can I have the cat? Can I have the bird? Some units say no bylaws whatsoever. Some say no animals. Some say yes you can, but it can only be a bird or a fish. Some buildings have specific bylaws, say if you want to put floor coverings down, lift up your carpet and put down wooden floors, there's specific ratings you have to have for the underlay in between. You have to have an acoustic engineer certificate, which proves that there's no noise transmission to the units below. So there's a few things you have to look at.
Wow, there's a lot to look out for.
That's only minor.
Are there really some buildings that won't let you have birds?
Absolutely.
Seriously?
There's some buildings I found I used to look after where they had specific animal restrictions.
Right.
You could only have a small fish, but you couldn't carry it through the common property. Very bizarre.
How do you get the fish upstairs if you can't take it through the...
You have to cover the fish and take it in.
Okay.
Yes.
You mentioned special levy.
Mm-hmm.
And so why would there be a requirement for a special levy?
Well, as you know, there's an admin fund and a sinking fund levy, which looks after the running of the building. An admin fund is your everyday running costs like the cleaning, the gardener, doing any minor works and electricity, fire control.
Yeah.
The sinking funds for your major expenditure, which most buildings do raise every single year. But there are some times where buildings don't have much money and they think, well, we do have to paint the building, we do have to replace the roof.
Okay.
So that when a special levy comes on board, all the owners get together and they approve to raise the money.
Okay. And when I buy a strata apartment, what am I actually buying?
Well, you're funny to say that, Leanne, because a lot of owners don't realise. They think when we go and buy, say, Unit 1 looks lovely for sale, they think they actually own the whole apartment. What actually, in fact, you do own is a cubic space. So you own all your internal walls, you'll own your floors and your ceilings, but you only own the surface. So you only own the paint and the carpet or the wooden flooring. You don't own the walls, you don't own the ceiling, you don't own the floors. They are considered common property. So, for example, if you want to rip out the lovely little small window in the hallway and put a great big sliding door, you can't do that because it's altering the common property. So that goes down the road of how do I do renovations to my apartment?
Right.
A bylaw will be put in place to protect the owners of any damage for the common property.
And so if I do want to renovate, for example, I want to put a new bathroom or kitchen into my apartment, what do I need to do?
Well, first of all, you do need to actually write to the executive committee through the strata manager, if they do have one, just outlining exactly what you tend to do. Because there's two types of renovations, cosmetic and structural. Just changing your bathroom for your bath around the place, that's deemed cosmetic. So as long as you let the executive committee know through the strata manager, 90% of the time it's okay. What's deemed structural is if actually you're changing the piping in the walls to move underneath, repositioning the bathroom or the sink, or you feel like you want to make your bathroom bigger and knock down an internal wall. Yep. Even though that wall belongs to you, it's still deemed structural. So you do need to put in writing, and then a few times they may consider that you may have to put a bylaw in place, which goes to a general meeting of all owners, which takes quite a while. Right. And then if all owners agree, there's terms and conditions stipulated in the bylaw, which then get registered on the certificate of title for the strata plan. So if anybody comes into the building, as you said beforehand, to have a look when they do the strata report, that bylaw will show up in the report. So people know that, this has been done.
And it's been approved.
Absolutely.
Okay, you mentioned executive committee. Can you tell me what an executive committee is?
Yep. Basically what it is at an annual general meeting, which is every year, all the owners get together and they reset the levies for the next financial years, they approve the invoices and they approve the insurance. There's one motion on there that is to elect a committee. Now the executive committee look after the day-to-day running of the building on behalf of the other owners. Before there used to be strata managers. A lot of buildings were self-managed. So when people think of the chairperson, the secretary and the treasurer, they were very important roles in those days because the chair chaired the meeting, the secretary did all the minutes, the agendas, the letters, and the treasurer looked after the funds, paid the levies, paid the accounts. With a strata manager, you still have to fill those positions, but they're not as important because the strata manager are those roles.
Okay.
But the executive committee, you have to have more than one person on a committee, but no more than 9.
Okay.
So, and they will look after the day-to-day running of the strata plan.
Okay. Yep, that all makes sense. And so when there are people that want to renovate, for example, is it the executive committee that just makes the decision to change the bylaws, or do all of the owners have to get involved?
No. Very good point, actually. The executive committee can approve a cosmetic renovation, which is just, as we said before, change the bathroom,
Yep.
just repositioning a few things. When it comes to anything slightly major, it has to go to a general meeting of all owners.
Right.
And a general meeting, if you won't put it on the AGM, it's called an extraordinary general meeting. Get together. Now, some owners could disapprove that.
Okay.
You need more than 75% of financial lot owners to vote, which means, and a lot of people get this wrong, you have to have all your levies paid up to vote at a general meeting.
Okay.
So if you owe your June levy and the meeting's on the 1st of July, you do not have a vote at that meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And if something goes wrong, spring a leak in the bathroom or the laundry, do I just go and get that fixed like I would if I was in a detached house? What happens?
There are 2 ways. If it's over after hours, most
Yep.
strata complexes will give an emergency trays list. So that way you have an emergency plumber who's on 24-hour call.
Right.
99% of those times, the plumber will get a lot of information from you and will deem whether it's a slight drip or is actually gutting, say, a burst pipe in the ceiling.
Right.
But they will also, when the strata manager's advised of this, we'll send our plumber down. But the plumber will let you know if it's your responsibility to fix
Okay.
or a strata. Say, for example, you have for a brief example, you have a leaking pipe under your sink. Now, if that leaking pipe's contained within the wall, then it's a strata issue. But
Right.
if the pipe is protruding out and in the cubic space of your under sink, then that's your responsibility to fix.
Wow, there really is a lot to look out for when you're buying into a strata complex. So
Absolutely.
buyer beware, do your research.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sam. We really appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge with us.
Thank you very much, Leanne.